There are homes in this country selling for less than what people pay in annual rent for a one-bedroom apartment in Brooklyn. Not fixer-uppers, not condemned buildings, actual houses with yards, driveways, front porches where you could sit and watch absolutely nothing happen. And somehow, this feels wrong. We've been conditioned to believe that home ownership is a lottery ticket you inherit, or a decade-long sacrifice you make while eating ramen in your 30s. We're told the market is broken, that prices only go one direction, that unless you're pulling six figures or living with four roommates, you're priced out forever. And yet, scattered across middle America, there are places where a three-bedroom house costs less than a used Honda Civic, where a mortgage payment is cheaper than a gym membership and avocado toast combined. These markets exist, they're real, they're functioning, and almost nobody talks about them. Because when something sounds too good to be true, it usually is. So why are these homes so cheap? What's the trade-off? What are people actually giving up when they move to a place where housing costs feel like they're from a different decade? And more importantly, could you actually live there? Let's find out. Right now, the average rent in major US cities is crushing people. We're talking $2,000 a month for a studio with paper-thin walls and a radiator that sounds like it's processing revenge. Home ownership? That's become a punchline. A distant fantasy reserved for people whose parents helped with a down payment or who somehow bought in 2011. The media loves to cover the expensive markets: San Francisco, New York, Austin, Miami. We hear about bidding wars, million-dollar starter homes, and how you need a tech salary just to qualify for a mortgage on a two-bedroom condo. It's exhausting, it's demoralizing, and it makes people feel like they're stuck forever. But here's what doesn't get covered. The markets where housing is still shockingly, almost offensively affordable. Not affordable for a coastal salary. Affordable, period. These places exist. They're not hidden, they're just ignored. Because they don't fit the narrative and because the trade-offs are real. This video isn't about selling you a dream. It's about showing you what actually exists, what it costs, and what you'd be walking into. No hype, no fantasy. Just the truth about the cheapest housing markets in America and whether they're worth it. Gary, Indiana, $50,000. Let's start with the one that makes people do a double take. You can buy a house in Gary, Indiana for the price of a decent wedding. We're talking about a full home. Roof, walls, probably some vintage linoleum, for what most people spend on a year of parking in a major city. Compare that to monthly rent in Los Angeles, where $2,500 gets you a place where you can hear your neighbors' Spotify-liked songs through the wall. In Gary, you're a homeowner. Outright, the appeal is immediate. It's quiet. There's space. Streets are wide enough to do a U-turn without sweating. Trees. Front lawns. The kind of Midwestern stillness that feels like it belongs in an indie movie about someone finding themselves. For a minute, it feels like maybe this could work. Maybe this is the escape hatch. But then reality shows up. Gary has struggled. The job market is limited. The crime rate is higher than most people are comfortable with. Infrastructure feels tired. Opportunities, especially for younger people, are sparse. It's not dangerous everywhere, but it's not stable everywhere either. You're not just buying a cheap house. You're buying into a place still working through its own recovery. Daily life here is slow. Errands take planning. Social scenes are small. Winters are cold and gray, the kind that make you forget what sunlight feels like. You'll know your neighbors, whether you want to or not. And if you're used to walking to a coffee shop or catching a last-minute movie, that rhythm doesn't exist here. Also, everything closes early, like early. So ask yourself, could you trade convenience and opportunity for ownership and space? Is the price worth what you'd be stepping away from? Detroit, Michigan. $70,000, $80,000 Detroit gets a bad rap, but it's also having a moment, depending on where you look. In certain neighborhoods, you can still find homes in the $70K, $80K range. That's less than a down payment in most competitive markets. Less than a year of grad school. Less than a fully loaded Subaru. On the surface, there's real appeal here. Detroit has culture. history, architecture that reminds you that this city used to be the city. There's a growing food scene, art projects, and pockets of revitalization happening in real time. It's not a ghost town, it's a city mid-reinvention. But, and this is crucial, not all of Detroit is on the same trajectory. Some neighborhoods are thriving. Others are still struggling with abandonment, slow services, and safety concerns. You can't just look at the price, you have to research the block, the zip code, the development plans. A cheap house in the wrong area isn't a deal, it's a gamble. Daily life depends entirely on where you land. If you're in a revitalizing pocket, you might have walkable coffee shops, weekend markets, and a sense of community energy. If you're not, you might be driving 20 minutes for groceries and wondering why the streetlights don't work. Winters are brutal. Lake effect snow, wind that cuts, the kind of cold that makes you question your choices while scraping ice off your windshield at 6 a.m. And here's the thing, Detroit rewards people who engage. If you're remote, entrepreneurial, or willing to be part of the rebuild, it can work. If you're expecting suburban comfort with urban pricing, you'll be disappointed. So, are you buying into a city's future or inheriting its past? Cleveland, Ohio. $85,000, $95,000. Cleveland is underrated. It has a medical hub, a decent food scene, actual culture, museums, theaters, and an orchestra that people outside Ohio have heard of. And in certain neighborhoods, you can still buy a home for under $100K. That price feels unreal when you consider what $100K gets you in other cities. A parking spot in San Francisco, a closet in Manhattan, a security deposit, and the first month's rent in Seattle. In Cleveland, you get walls, a roof, and probably a basement. The city has a working-class backbone. It's unpretentious. People are straightforward. There's a sense of resilience here, like the city's been counted out before and didn't care. But the job market is the catch. Unless you're in healthcare, education, or working remotely, opportunities can feel limited. The economy isn't booming. It's steady, which is good, but it's not dynamic. If you're young and ambitious, you might feel like you're swimming upstream. Daily life is manageable. Winters are cold, but not apocalyptic. You'll drive most places. Social life exists, but it's not accidental. You have to seek it out. There's charm in the neighborhoods, but also where. Some areas feel stuck in 1987, and people leave. That's the quiet part. Young talent often moves to Columbus, Chicago, or the coast. So if you're planting roots here, you're betting on stability, not growth. One upside. Lake Erie is right there. It's not the ocean, but it's something. Could you build a life here, or would you always feel like you're waiting for the next chapter? Toledo, Ohio. Median home price: $80,000, $90,000. Toledo is the city people forget exists until they drive through it. It sits quietly on the edge of Lake Erie, smaller than Cleveland, quieter than Columbus, and far cheaper than almost anywhere else in the Midwest. Homes here are cheap. Sub $90K cheap, less than a year of daycare cheap. You could buy a house in Toledo for what some people spend on a destination wedding. The appeal is space and peace. Neighborhoods with trees, streets that aren't clogged, a pace of life that doesn't require a Google Calendar to manage. If you want quiet, you'll get it. But Toledo is small, really small. The job market is limited unless you're in healthcare, manufacturing, or education. Entertainment options are minimal. Nightlife is not a thing. If you're used to having options, restaurants, events, spontaneity, you'll feel the absence. Daily life revolves around routine. You'll have your grocery store, your gas station, and your one good coffee spot. Winters are gray and long, summers are humid. You'll spend a lot of time indoors. And here's the social reality. People are friendly, but communities are established. If you're moving in from out of state, it takes time to break in. You're not unwelcome, you're just new, and that means something here. There's one main road for everything, one diner everyone goes to, one movie theater. Is that simplicity liberating or suffocating? Youngstown, Ohio. Median home price: $60,000, $70,000. Youngstown used to be steel. That era is over. What's left is a small city with big bones, cheaper housing than almost anywhere, and a pace of life that moves at its own speed. You can buy a house here for less than a used truck, less than most people's student loan balance. It's the kind of price that makes you pull up Zillow just to see if it's real. The homes are older, some charming, some need work, but they're there and they're affordable in a way that feels like a glitch in the system. Youngstown is quiet, almost eerily so. There are parks, neighborhoods with history, a small university that adds some life. But economically, the city is still recovering. Jobs are limited. Young people leave. The population has been shrinking for decades. Daily life is slow. You'll drive everywhere. You'll recognize faces. The weather is cold and overcast for a solid chunk of the year. Entertainment is DIY. You make your own fun, or you don't have much. But if you're remote, retired, or just tired of the grind, Youngstown offers something rare. The ability to own a home without a crushing mortgage, to live without financial panic, to breathe. The trade-off? You're giving up momentum, energy, the feeling that things are happening around you. So is peace worth isolation? Flint, Michigan. Median home price, $50,000, $60,000. Flint carries weight. Everyone knows the water crisis. That story shadows everything. And while progress has been made, trust is fractured. Infrastructure is still a concern. The city is still rebuilding, physically and emotionally. But homes here are stunningly cheap. Sub $60K cheap. You could buy a house in Flint for what a semester of out-of-state tuition costs. There are people here fighting for the city's future. Community organizers, artists, locals who refuse to leave. There's resilience in Flint, even if it doesn't make headlines, but the reality is hard. The job market is weak. Services are inconsistent. Schools are under-resourced. Crime exists. You can't ignore the systemic struggles. Daily life requires patience. You'll need to research which areas are safer, which services are reliable, and what infrastructure you can depend on. It's not a plug-and-play move, it's a commitment to a place still healing. Winters are cold. Isolation is real. And if you have kids, the decision gets heavier. But for someone remote, resourceful, and willing to engage, Flint might offer something else. A chance to be part of a recovery, not just a transaction. Could you handle the weight of that? Muskegon, Michigan. Median home price, $95,000 Muskegon sits on Lake Michigan. That alone makes it different from the other markets on this list. You're not landlocked. You're not staring at cornfields. You've got a shoreline, sunsets, beaches that feel almost coastal. Homes here are still under $110K in many areas. That's accessible, attainable, and the town itself has more charm than you'd expect. Farmers markets, a small art scene, summer festivals. But Muskegon is seasonal. Summer is alive. Winter is a ghost town. Jobs are tourism dependent or manufacturing based. If you're not remote, opportunities are thin. Daily life swings between extremes. In warm months, you'll feel like you made the right call. In January, when it's 12 degrees and the lake is frozen, you'll question everything. Also, you're far from everything. Grand Rapids is 40 minutes. Chicago is 3 hours. If you need city energy, you're driving for it. But if you want water, space, and a slower pace, and you can weather the winters, Muskegon offers something surprisingly rare: affordable beauty. Does that combo work for you? Danville, Illinois. Median home price, $60,000 to $75,000. Danville is small, quiet, and incredibly cheap. You could buy a house here for less than a year's rent in most cities. Less than a cross-country move. Less than a new HVAC system. It's flat. Midwest flat. There's space. Calm. The kind of emptiness that either feels freeing or suffocating, depending on who you are. But Danville is struggling economically. Jobs are scarce. The population is declining. There's not much happening culturally. If you need stimulation, community, or a professional opportunity, you'll feel the lack. Daily life is repetitive. Same roads, same stores, same faces, Winters are cold, summers are hot and sticky. You'll spend a lot of time at home. But if you're looking for rock-bottom housing cost and absolute simplicity, Danville delivers. Is that enough? Pine Bluff, Arkansas. Median home price $70,000, $85,000, or Pine Bluff is deep south affordable. Homes in the $70K, $85K range. Warm weather, lower cost of living across the board, not just housing, but groceries, gas, utilities. There's a slower, older culture here. Front porches, Sunday routines. A pace that doesn't apologize for not being fast, but Pine Bluff has high poverty rates. Crime is a real concern. The job market is extremely limited. Schools are under-resourced. If you have a family, this move gets complicated fast. Daily life is deeply routine. There's not much to do. Social scenes are small and insular. You'll need to be comfortable with quiet and with being an outsider if you're not from here. The weather is hot, humid, bugs are a lifestyle. But for someone retired, remote, or just trying to escape financial stress, Pine Bluff offers ultra-low costs and a simple, unhurried life. Is it simple enough? Bessemer, Alabama. Median home price $75,000, $90,000. Bessemer sits just outside Birmingham. It's cheaper than the city, but still close enough to access jobs, healthcare, and some urban amenities. Homes here are under 90Ks. That's rare for anywhere near a metro. You get proximity without the price, but Bessemer itself is rough around the edges. Some neighborhoods are fine, others feel neglected. You'll need to do serious research before choosing a block. Daily life depends on your situation. If you commute to Birmingham, Bessemer works as a budget base. If you're trying to live entirely within Bessemer, options shrink fast. Summers are swampy, hot, the kind of heat that makes you move more slowly. But if you need to be near a city without paying city prices, Bessemer is a functional compromise. Does compromise feel like victory or just survival? Let's pause for a second. If you've made it this far, you've probably noticed a pattern. The prices keep dropping. The trade-offs keep stacking. And the question hanging over every single one of these markets is the same. Is this freedom or just a different kind of trap? Because here's the thing, cheap housing isn't automatically a win. It's a trade. You're giving up access, opportunity, infrastructure, and sometimes safety in exchange for ownership and lower costs. And depending on where you are in life, that trade might make perfect sense. Or it might be a mistake you can't undo. The next few markets push that trade even further. The prices get lower, the isolation gets heavier, the stakes get real. So if you're still watching, ask yourself, how far are you actually willing to go? Here's what nobody tells you about cheap housing markets. The price is just the entry fee. What you're really buying is a lifestyle trade-off, and that trade-off doesn't show up on Zillow. You can own a home outright in Gary, Indiana for $50K. But what does your daily life look like? Who are your neighbors? Where do you work? What do you do on a Friday night? How do you meet people? What happens if you need a hospital? What happens if you get bored? Ownership without opportunity can feel like winning a prize you didn't want. You have a house, but you might not have a life that fits inside it. On the flip side, staying in an expensive city means freedom of choice. Options, energy, proximity to jobs, culture, and people. But it also means renting, forever, financial stress, and watching your income disappear into someone else's property. So what's worse? Owning a cheap home in a place that limits you, or renting forever in a place that drains you? There's no universal answer. It depends on your age, your work, your personality, your tolerance for isolation, and what you actually need to feel alive. But the one certain thing, affordable housing isn't a hack, it's a decision. And every decision has a cost. The cheapest housing markets in America are real. They're not scams, they're not fantasies. You can move to these places tomorrow if you want to, but cheap doesn't mean easy, and affordable doesn't mean right for you. If you're young and building a career, these markets might feel like career suicide. If you're remote and introverted, they might feel like freedom. If you're raising a family, the calculation gets more complicated. Schools, safety, and long-term stability matter more than the price tag. There's no shame in choosing the expensive city because it gives you life. And there's no shame in choosing the cheap market because it gives you peace. The only mistake is pretending the trade-off doesn't exist. These markets exist because not everyone wants the same thing. Some people need the energy. Some people need the space. Some people need to stop financially drowning, even if it means living somewhere smaller, slower, and quieter. The question isn't whether these places are worth it. The question is whether they're worth it for you. So here's the final question, and I want you to answer honestly, not for anyone else, just for yourself. Is cheap housing real freedom or just a different kind of cost? Would you actually move to one of these markets, or are you staying in the expensive city no matter what? Drop your answer in the comments. No judgment, just truth. And if you made it this far, thanks for watching.